I'm Jonathan, and before I started making movies, I spent several years in the Israeli Special Forces, where I met my dear friend and co-writer Shai, and we want to share one of the best kept secrets of with you of the Israeli Special Forces, and that is, it's not that special. We we thought it was only us, but then we happened to talk to this guy from the Mossad, and he also said, you know, I can't even watch spy flicks anymore. I just can't. And we asked him, how come? He said, well, every time James Bond orders a martini, I just can't believe he's not asking for a fucking receipt. Why would he not? I mean, where would he file it? Will he put it on per diem expenses or personal expenses? It's madness. And in that regard, it was that moment where Checkout was born, because we've talked to dozens of Mossad operatives ever since, commanders all the way up, and we took from those stories, we created Dov, and our protagonist always wanted to be a spy, and he was good enough. He was just never the best. And I'll just set the setup for you. It's the 1990s. All of his loved ones, whenever he's away, they are certain that he is in Europe with beautiful women and chasing high-profile terrorists. And yet, in reality, Dov is stranded on a low-level ambush mission in a Turkish hotel, pretending to be this writer with a writer's block for months on end. And it's kind of pathetic, and yet he doesn't care. He used to care, but now Dov is in his mid-50s. He grew to love his fake cover life more than he does his real life. And we've heard people like that. And that was unbelievable for us. As long as it is known that he's in Mossad, that's good enough for Dov. And good enough for many of those people. And it's that thing that they take away from him. The film really jumpstarts when he gets a call in the hotel. It's his 54th birthday. His controller calls him and he tells him, that's it, time's up, you're retiring, as agreed. And that is something that Dov cannot do. He has nothing but the fact that he's in Mossad. They're taking everything. And so the movie actually starts 1 year after that phone call. We don't know what happened. All we know is it was bad. We know something really bad happened in that hotel. We know he spent a year in Turkish prison. We know he was just released, and Israeli interrogators from the Mossad are all over him. They're grilling him. Tell us exactly what happened. So he does. And we flash back to that hotel where the duration of the film takes place. He describes, and the interrogators barge in surprising and creative ways. And we chose to tell the story that way for a reason. We couldn't believe it when we heard it, but it seems that these people, as they're putting their lives on the line, a lot of the times the scariest thing is not following that person, or the scariest thing is the debriefing afterwards. They always told us how they're imagining what their colleagues back home will say. How can I defend my actions right now, should I have to? And Dov understands that. He has 90 minutes in a debriefing to completely decide what happened. He was the only one there. He's the only witness. And it's his decision whether he's going to be remembered as a disgrace or a living legend. These are the most important 90 minutes of Dov's life. We're going to show a short scene where an insulting moment, which I'm pretty sure you haven't seen in other spy flicks, and yet I assure you it happens to the best of them, and Dov isn't the best of them. So enjoy our visual experiment. Thank you.
Jeep? Where's Reggie?
He's already come.
New.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry. Yes, yes.
Serving, put a fresh napkin beneath it.
Yeah, sorry.
You know why?
Why?
Respect makes the drink taste better.
Exactly. You know, especially with this important guest. Writer's block or not?
חרא וויסקי יש פה, אה? לא יודעת, לי זה אף פעם לא עובר טוב בגרון. כאילו הוויסקי.
Whiskey?
אתה ישראלי, לא? You don't speak Hebrew?
Hebrew. You see me?
I've never run about this.
How about polite? Are you ever polite?
Bourbon. Best.
Whiskey doesn't ask silly questions. Whiskey understands.
You Jewish though, right?
Raised Catholic, actually.
What? Where are you from?
I'm from room 1080. I'm Greek.
But that's weird. I always thought only Israeli has these shoulders, you know, the tension that builds up near the neck. Someone once told me that's also how you tell if someone was in jail. Oh my God, were you in jail?
I'm Greek. Where are you from?
I'm from Israel. Hello.
Wow.
Yeah.
War now there, huh?
No Israeli family or something like that, no? Yani b'shok. Listen, I don't know. There is something about you. Maybe I'm wrong.
Be nice to him. You might find yourself in his new book.
Which book? Oh my God, you are the writer?
You have to actually write something to be called a writer.
אז למעשה הכיסוי שלך נחשף.
לא נחשף ולא נעליים, מה אתם מתרגשים מהילדה הזאת?
אבל הרגע אמרת בעצמך
היא לא הרגישה כלום! מה אתם שופטים את זה על פי רגע כזה קטן? תנו לספר את כל הסיפור קיבינימט!
אמרת בעצמך.
אוי באמת, עשי לי טובה. יושב כמובן באידיוט. הפסקה קטנה לדעת.
Thank you. So we were really happy that we were forced to do this scene because we learned a lot from it. And I think first and foremost, we remembered that we're making a cool movie. It might sound juvenile, but you know, it's so hard when you write and you rewrite to forget that you're making something with twists and turns and undertones of a thriller, some dark comedy elements, visual surprises. It was fun to remember that we're making something a bit fun also. And after this insulting moment in the bar, Dov surrenders. He goes back to check out, and just in that second, something that's too good to be true happens. The Mossad's number one target enters, or so he thinks. Is he going to save Dov from retirement? This unique bromance ensues between hunter, prey, and it is in that moment where Dov's thirst for glory begins showing, and to fairly interesting results. I think that, lastly, the Mossad is one of the last true mythologies Israel still has to offer. And for me, in that sense, it's a personal story because I was brought up on that mythology. My grandparents came here on that mythology, my parents, and I left America to join the army because of that mythology. And I was disillusioned. And I think there is a lot of comedy in that. And I think there's a lot of comedy in Dov's story as well. He is the unsung hero of Israeli spies, someone who really wanted to take part and share that mythology, and yet what he did get is a Turkish hotel, feeling comfortably numb and never wanting to check out. So thank you very much for your time. Omer, it's a good place for the poster, I think. And I'd like to ask Chilik to add a few words, and thank you for taking this journey with me, Chilik.
Thank you. Above all, this is a true unique piece. This is why we liked it. When Jonathan approached us in the first place, Jonathan, we met first when he was a student in my class in Sam Spiegel. And since then, I'm following him because I thought that he's a unique guy and a storyteller. He won with his short film, best film in Jerusalem Film Festival, and afterwards in the Academy Award. A film that was being shot in an iPhone, quite original then. And we are proud to produce his first film, full length. So where we are at, we are now financing. We already have made our mind to contribute our own portion. We will invest our private equity money in it. Next month we are applying to the Israeli Film Fund in order to get the gap that we can get here in Israel. And the rest we are aiming to get from co-production partners. The film is about to be shot in a European country, which is a hub of East and West, old and new, which is quite an advantage for the foreign co-producers. The film contains 85% English speaking due to the subject matter and 15% Hebrew. We are aiming to start shooting July 19. I want to take this opportunity and say a special thank to Claire Downs that led us up to this point, to Ren and Show for this great initiative and supporting us throughout the year, and for Lior and his team, to the judges, international members, and to you all for listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I still the story is very well written and very well developed and so on, but and it's good, and I know a little bit about it. But basically, what I would like to find, I'm still not convinced completely about the black comedy element in the whole story. And you also, in your director's note, you mentioned that this is a black comedy, and really, if you can tell a little more, where's the black comedy?
Yeah,
Okay, we saw this one scene, but it's a whole movie.
Right. So when we hashed this out with Claire for the last year, and I think the essence of the film is about a man who lies for a living. Not only that, does his best case scenario is actually taking another man's life. So just working within that those boundaries, for me, there's something hilariously and terrifyingly funny about this subject matter. I think whenever we see Mossad pieces, I always think that it takes itself so seriously, and yet the subject matter is serious. So what what better way than to drive the point home by actually giving stage to the satirical element in it. It's still a very humane character. I think a big process we went through the lab is feeling for Dov. I think the first drafts, it was hard to feel empathy for someone whose sole purpose is to suffocate another man with a pillow. And yet, these are the Knights of Camelot of the Israeli society. These are the people that we cheer for. And in that respect, I think black comedy is the perfect genre.
Can you talk about the structure of the script, how you arrived at that?
The structure of the script, happy to. It's as soon as we realized that it's an interrogation movie, the most trite point of attack was to flash back and flash forward into the debriefer's room. We didn't want to do that at all for stylish purposes, and yet we didn't really feel comfortable with the interrogators barging into the story until we heard from the combatants themselves, the men and women of the Mossad, how terrified they are of what's going to happen as they're there. Shai and I, my co-writer, we remember that feeling vividly from our own short endeavors, and it is terrifying, always doing something and thinking how you can protect yourself in a room not dissimilar than this, with a lot of high-ranking people who have to take you by your word and really want to find someone to place the guilt on. So as soon as we realized, stylishly, we want to, it needs to be a true original, and it wouldn't work unless it was endemic and in the DNA of the film. So I think that paranoia is what justified the structure.
Yes, I disagree with Catriel. I think it's working very well. I mean, for the scene we saw. I just want to know the tone of the film, because I really like the format. This is very different, and it reminds me the Charlie Kaufman film Anomalisa, which also one of the I prefer. I really like this film. So how are you will be able to keep this tense tone from the beginning to the end? We saw just a clip, and then I agree with Catriel. In the whole film, you think you're going to be able to keep the same tension from the beginning to the end?
Oh, I don't intend on keeping the same tension, but I definitely think, one of the best metaphors we heard during our research is that someone, as a Mossad combatant, I try to be like a duck over water. And we didn't understand that at first until they told us, a duck, it seems like as if he's just cruising and having a good time. But if you were to see what's happening underneath the water, he's paddling like hell. So it's that working code of this Israeli samurai of sorts that will always have us in the sinuses of the script. So we'll have tense parts and we'll have very comic parts. As for the tone, everything's inside of Dov's head. So it's a beautiful playground for a filmmaker. And it's, I think it allows us to contain funny parts, tense parts, paranoid parts, and basically to show how this man is thrusted with reality when all he wants is to touch mythology.
No, the reason I asked is because for me, I mean, it's my own personal view, he's a kind of a sad character.
Sure.
He at least for me, came across as a sort of a sad character. He's just about his retirement age. He wants to do maybe the last big thing that he will be remembered for. And he sees it's coming to an end, and it's hard for him to cope with it.
I agree. Renan once told us that the characters he likes best are characters that are sadder than him.
That's a good one.
So we took it.
I think that's a good ending for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.